Hi, everybody. This is Tom Owens. He's a story artist here at Big Idea. Today, he's going to show you how to draw a very kingly cucumber. Make sure to get my good side.
Today we're going to draw Larry from King George and the Ducky as the king. So we start by drawing his sort of tall, narrow, oval shape for his body. And then sort of figure if this is about the center of his body, about a third of the way up from there, draw a center line. This is going to be where his face sits. We'll draw his nose, and then his eyes, which are kind of fat teardrop shaped, kind of like eggs. One sticks out to the side over there on that side. And then Larry always keeps his eyes really wide open, so I'm going to indicate that his eyelids are up near the top, and then just a little bit of the bottom ones we'll see. And then his pupils are in the center of his eye. And I'll leave the top of the oval white so that there's kind of like a highlight. And then under his nose, a little bit off center under the nose, we'll draw his mouth. He's always smiling, so I'll do his mouth and then his tooth and shade in the rest of his mouth. He's wearing a robe in this show, so figure out where center is of the front of his body and draw the robe wrapping around, coming to the center. And then under that, there's a belt that holds it all together. So we'll do kind of a knot and the tassels from the robe. And then the neck is real full, the neckline of the robe. So we'll draw that thick on both sides. Indicate a little bit of a loose fabric feel by drawing this bulge that comes out and comes back into the body where this belt attaches, and then just under it we'll flare it out just a little bit so that it feels again like fabric. And then the bottom is a little wider than his body, and then indicate that the thing is open by doing like a little V shape. And then this sort of piping that comes around will come all the way to the bottom on either side and then wrap around the back. And then his bottom sticks out from under the robe. Then he wears a crown in this show, so we'll draw a line across the top of his head where the crown sits on his head. And then I'm going to give myself these lines indicating where the points will be. And from the top of each of these, I'll just do a semicircular shape in between them and put the little ball shapes on top of the points. And there's his basic crown shape. And then the top, just a big round thing that sticks out of the top of the thing, and then it's got stripes on it. And then a couple of like jewels on the surface of it. And then the base has just got a little bit of a brim on it, so we'll make that fatter, like a little lip. And that's it. That's Larry as the king.
Hi, everyone. This is Tom Owens. He's a story artist here at Big Idea. Today, he's going to show you how to draw a special buddy of mine.
Today we're going to draw the Ducky from King George and the Ducky. Start by drawing almost a circle. It's a little bit squared off circle for his head. And I'm going to draw him facing this direction. So figure that the center of his face, as he faces that way, is kind of over here. And then his eye line will be here. Now he's got really fat cheeks, so I'm going to indicate that the cheeks stick out and forward off of the head, and the same on the other side. And then ever so slightly on the back of the head we see a little bit more of that contour, so that you feel this round shape on the face. Now the eyes sit right on top of the cheeks, so because he's smiling so big, the underside of his eye is pushed up because of the cheek shape. So that makes him look like he's smiling really big. Now we draw his duck bill, right around the point where the center is. Do the semicircular top, and then do that curve, reverse the curve back out a little bit just beyond his face, and then drop down, indicating the thickness of the bill, and then bring this line back to the cheek. Then we do the underside of his bill, pull back from the front a little ways, indicate a little bit of a thickness there, and then bring that back to the back as well. From the underside of his cheeks and the back of his head, we draw just a little bit of a neck dropping down to where it contacts the body. And then that sits on his body, which is a sort of a large egg shape with a little point on the end for his tail. And then just little indication of the wings folded. We'll split this into a couple of points back here for indicating feathers and kind of darken them in a bit, and that's the ducky.
Mr. Lunt here to introduce Tom Owens, who is a story artist at Big Idea. Today he's going to show you how to draw one amazingly good-looking gourd.
Today we're going to draw Mr. Lunt from the Esther show. Mr. Lunt is a gourd, so he's kind of oval-shaped at the top, and then his bottom is big and round. He's a decorative gourd. Sort of where these two lines come to, where this break is on either side, that's sort of where his center is, so we'll draw a line through that and place his nose, this big round oval nose, on there. Under his nose he's got two halves of a mustache that are real long and pointy, and then just draw his mouth under there just a little bit open so that we see his teeth in there. In this episode he wears a big hat, so that where that hat sits is just above the center line, and the brim comes down right to his nose, so this is where the hat wraps around the head, and then indicate that the hat comes right down to his nose, and draw the brim wrapping around his head so that you see the underside of the hat here, and then you see actually a little bit of the top of the hat over the brim just above his nose. And then we'll just do this kind of box shape around the top of his head, a little bit bigger than his head. And the hat brim on this goes almost all the way to the top. It's really a wide one. We'll darken it in. Then he's wearing a coat, so we'll draw that coming around his neckline and bring it right down to this point in the center. And he's got a tie that he wears, so we see the knot and just the top of the tie under this neckline, so there's like a shirt under here. And then draw the collar. It's really wide shaped collar that hangs off a little bit to the side here. And then we'll draw that, follow the contour of his body down almost all the way to the bottom, and then flatten it off so that we see a little bit of his body out from underneath the coat. And the coat is striped, so we'll put stripes on the collars. And then down the front of the jacket. And make sure all the stripes follow the shape. As you go around to this side, they're round like this side, then they get a little straight through the center, and then start to follow the roundness on this side as well, so they all feel like they're going around his body. The jacket is double-breasted, so he's got 4 buttons at the front, and that's Mr. Lunt.
Cousin Mordecai here to introduce Tom Owens, who is a story artist at Big Idea. Today he's going to show you how to draw the bravest Queen Persia ever saw.
So today we're going to draw Queen Esther. Queen Esther is kind of tall and thin, and more or less like a spoon shape. She's got like a tall round shape for her head, and then it gets narrow at her neck and it drops down into a slightly wider bottom. Now for her face, I'll draw like the center line. We'll put her nose, place her nose right there. And then her eyes are oval shapes on either side of the nose and just above the center line. So we'll draw those ovals and then put her pupils in there. A couple of eyelashes. Make the pupils real dark and then shade the rest of it just a little bit. Then under her nose we'll draw her mouth. And then draw her hair. She's got like a high part, kind of draw a V shape above her head. And then the hair comes down around her face. On this side over here there's one piece of hair that always hangs in front of her face, so we'll make sure to get that in there. Then draw like around the back where the hair hangs too. And then draw these kind of long S shapes up to the points. Indicate where the hair wraps around the face on that side, and then draw the face. And then do her eyebrows just above her eyes. And then you just see the top, very top of her crown. So we'll put like a little circle indicating like a jewel or something in the front. And the top of the crown's got a couple of hooks on it. And wrap that around into her hair. And then shade her hair. And then down at her neck, we'll draw her neckline. And she's got like, kind of like shoulders and a chest plate that hangs down sort of half of a circle shape. So we draw our shoulders in this semicircle. And this thing has like a leaf pattern on it. So we'll just do this pattern all over it. Then just under that point, we'll draw her body comes a little bit out from under the shoulders. It narrows, and then there's a ribbon that goes around the center of her dress. So we'll draw that, and then the dress hangs down almost all the way to her bottom, and it's of course wider than her body, so indicate that her body's out from under the dress. And then from the back on either side, there are ribbons that come around to a point in the front that put a knot there. And then they kind of hang down like that. And there you have Esther.
Hi there, kids. I'm Tim Hodge. I'm the director of Little Joe. So I'm going to show you how to draw Little Joe today. So pull up a chair, set a spell, get your pencils and your paper, and let's draw. Okay. First thing you want to do is know where on the paper you're going to draw, because you don't want to start really, really big and run out of room. So let's start drawing Larry's basic body shape, because of course Larry did play the part of Little Joe. And Larry is shaped kind of like a cucumber. So let's make this nice big cucumber shape here. It's kind of almost like a hot dog shape. Draw light at first, because some of these lines are going to get covered up later. So once we finish this, you can back the DVD up and do it one more time. So get a nice loose line here. And we're going to put his face over to the side. It's a little more interesting when he's kind of turned. So I'm going to draw this kind of a guideline down the middle of his face. And you see a lot of artists do that, and some of you may wonder why. Well, that's the middle line of Larry's head, and it helps you find out where his eyes are going to go. Now, it's curved because it's slanted, because he's a round object. It's like this dodgeball. You see, I have a straight line on there, but if we turn it in space, look, that line becomes curved. Straight, curved. It's called perspective. It's the same thing right here. This line is the one that runs straight down the middle of his head. And we know that his eyes sit fairly near the top, not too near. And his eyes are these big, kind of white egg shapes. So we'll draw this little oval shape here. And here, get loose. Nice big egg. Now this eye, since he's turned, just like this, Larry, see, when you turn him, one eye gets a little bit in front of the other. That's how we show it's closer. See, there they'd be side by side. Here, one is in front of the other one. So to make something look like it's behind, you just don't draw the whole thing. See how it overlaps right here? And it's a little bit smaller. That's because, as you probably noticed, when things get further away, they get smaller. They look smaller. So his eye is just a little bit further away than this eye, so it's a little bit smaller. Now you notice too, I didn't draw this line all the way over here. We stopped short because that's where his nose goes. His nose is going to be just almost a perfect circle, just like that. And it goes between them. And see how we draw that overlap? This one's in front of this one, in front of this one. It's one of those little drawing tricks. Now his pupils, the black spots in his eyes, are not circles like yours and mine are. They're ovals. And we'll draw another one here. Now this one's a little closer to the side. And before we color these in black, let's draw these little highlight marks. Draw a circle there inside it and a circle there. Now what that is, like I said, those are highlights. When the light's shining down on his face, it reflects. So it leaves a nice little white spot. And you can color the rest of it in black. Okay, now let's give Larry a big smile. Let's draw this little kind of a V shape here. You come down to, remember where I had this center line down here? If you kind of find the middle of it, that's where the lowest point of his mouth is going to be. Where it comes down to that point and up on that side. And then for the other part of his mouth, this big U shape. Not too big. His mouth doesn't open too wide. It's a nice big U. Now he's got a wide open mouth, but of course Larry can't open his mouth without seeing his tooth. Now let's not put the tooth right in the middle. Again, he's turned sideways, so it's a little bit to the side. And his tooth I like to make it a little narrower at the bottom. So there's his tooth, just 3 sides. 1, 2, 3, just like that. And now you can color in his mouth. Just fill it in like that. Make sure your lines are all in place. Now see that? That's Larry. But of course Larry's playing Little Joe in this show, right? So we have to give him cowboy clothes. A cowboy hat is one of the hardest hats to draw. But let's try it anyway. The part where the hat wraps around his head, very lightly draw a curved line right around there, very lightly. We'll make it darker a little bit later, but right now, make it kind of light, okay? And it's the same thing. Just like this straight line here, it's that curved line that's going around his head. If I did it straight, it would look like he's perfectly lined up with to the paper, and we want him a little bit turned. So that's perspective, a little curved line here. And now for the brim, we're going to draw kind of a big figure 8 right there on its side, kind of a sideways 8. Start up here by his head, near the top, and draw a big figure 8. Now it's bigger on this side because the back of the cowboy hat is bigger, and this goes behind him. Now if we continued this, you'd see the line went all the way back up here again. But let's not draw that because that's behind his head. And go ahead and make this line a little bit darker. Just go ahead and darken that in like that. Okay, now there's Larry with a big figure 8 sitting on his head, and it doesn't look like a cowboy hat yet, does it? Nope, he needs the top of it, the bowl of the hat. Now the bowl is, we'll make it with this curved line this way, not too tall. It's not a 10-gallon hat. and another one on this side, not quite as tall. It's shaped kind of like that big silo in the show, where it's a big round thing. So we start up on the top, and this hat is not a straight line across. We're going to have a lot of twists and turns in here. Start off with a little curve like that, curve up, and make this big dip, big U shape, and that's the center of the hat right there. And then a little bit longer curved shape this way, and then kind of go backwards from that curve up, and then back in like that. And now we have the basic shape of his cowboy hat. This is more like the style that he was wearing at the beginning of the show, when he first came out. And sometimes there's this little dent right there, so you can put a little kind of a little comma, backwards comma in there to show that the hat dips in. And of course he has to have the band on his cowboy hat. So just draw another line, curved line. It runs just like this one. It runs right next to it. So there's Larry in his cowboy hat. But he's not just wearing a cowboy hat. He's got his kerchief on and wraps around his neck. And just like this line was curving up, down here, we're going to let it curve down. It's that same curved line like I showed you on the dodgeball. Just do a light line here to show you roughly where it goes. Now let's put the knot, because he ties it in front. The knot is over here on the side. And the knot is going to be kind of a diamond shape. Like this. All made out of curved lines like this. Just like that. See that? And then you can draw another curved line in the middle to make it feel like that's where the knot happened. And then let's make this line a little more solid here. Wraps around this side. And it goes a little bit wider because it's bunched in the middle. Now here's the tricky part. You make this line don't go all the way to the edge here, or make it go just to the edge of his body line, and bring the back of the kerchief a little bit higher. Because see how it makes it feel like it's wrapped around him? Just like that. And then we do the same thing on this side. It's curved lines, right like this, curving up, following the curve of his body. And again, go a little bit wider than his body line is. And just wrap it around like that. Now we have the tassels that kind of fall down where he tied it in a knot and left the tassels hang. This first tassel, we're going to make it one simple curved line like that. The other side, it's kind of an S. See, it's just got a little bit of an S shape to it. And again, just a little wrinkle in there. And the same thing on this side, only backwards from the other side. And let it overlap. Get it behind there. Don't draw the lines behind it. Let it go right up to that. And it feels like it's behind the other one. And make it a little bit longer. It's kind of more interesting to look at when one side's a little bit longer than the other. Before we're done, let's go ahead and shade in his hat. Take your pencil on its side and just lightly color. We're not drawing lines, we're kind of coloring it in. You might have to go a little slower at first, but just using the side of your pencil, color that in. Now let's leave the band white. Just color that in with the side of your pencil there. And if you're using a black pencil, that makes it kind of gray, doesn't it? Let's do the same thing with this kerchief. And one thing that'll help too, let's draw the stretched out oval right underneath him, and a little bit on this side. And you know what that's going to be? That's going to be the shadow, where the sun's shining on him, and his hat casts this big shadow down the ground. And that'll make it feel like he's really sitting there and not floating around in space or anything. There you go. And even put the horizon line back there. And there is little Joe on the lone prairie. All right, kids. Now I'm going to show you how to draw Charlie Pinscher. Remember, Charlie appeared in The Star of Christmas, but he also had a little part in Little Joe. He played the prospector. Now, Charlie isn't just a simple cucumber shape. He's kind of a scallionish character. So we're going to start with his back. It's a little more complicated than before. So a nice big curved line. And again, remember, draw light, because we're not going to use all of these lines yet. We're going to have other lines in front of him. And his face starts really skinny up where his eyes are going to be. And then it curves out the other way. We have these two lines that go away from each other, not too far, because right there is the bottom of his jaw, where it juts out. And then, again, a nice sloping curved line back the other way. Not too far down. And then that's where he sits. That's going to be the bottom of the character right there. That's his basic body shape. Now his eyes, unlike Larry's, you remember, they're shaped like eggs that are very tall. Charlie's eyes are kind of sideways compared to Larry's. So you have these two kind of sideways eggs. One bigger than the other, because one's a little bit, since he's turned a little bit, he's further away. Okay, and Charlie always looks good when we put his eyelids on him too. So after you draw this circle, draw a nice curved line right there and there. Those are his eyelids. Can you see it starting to take shape? And Charlie's pupils are round, almost perfect circles. Oh, Larry's are kind of oval shaped. Well, Charlie's are almost perfectly round. And we'll put a little circle inside the pupil to be a highlight. And then color that in black like that. Now this pupil is not right in the middle. You see how it just touches the eyelid and it's a little bit off, a little bit closer. And again, put a little circle inside there for the light is reflecting on it, and color that in. All right, now we're ready for Charlie's nose. And Charlie's nose is a little more complicated than Larry's was. Larry's, you remember, was just a circle, like a little ball sitting on his face. And Charlie's is shaped kind of like a potato. So right up here between his eyes, let's start with this kind of an upside down U shape. Short on this side, on the right side, and then over the left, a little longer. And just as it passes the bottom of his eyes, it starts curving back around to the right. See that? And then it comes up around and tucks in there. Let it cover up the bottom part of that eye there. There, see how it folds over? It's got kind of this funny potato-shaped nose. And even has some freckles on his nose if you look closely. All right. There's Charlie's eyes and nose. Now we're going to give him a little smile. So right underneath his nose, this nice curve up. And Charlie's got a little tooth, unlike Larry's, it hangs down from the top. Charlie sticks up from the bottom. I might like to make it wider at the bottom, skinnier at the top. Just 3 simple lines. 1, 2, 3. See that? Big smile, or a big grin for Charlie. Now Charlie's a prospector and hasn't shaved in a few days. So very lightly, let's draw this line right around his chin here. That's the whole area of his face he hasn't shaved. And right off to the side, Charlie's got a little chin that sticks out. So again, just like his eye shape is a little flattened oval, same thing right here. Now don't close it up at the top. It looks a little better if you just leave it open right there for his chin. All right. Let's go back up to his eyes now, because we don't want to forget his eyebrows. Charlie's got these big, bushy eyebrows, almost like a saw blade, only it's not straight lines. We just do 4 points. I like to start out light at first. Always start drawing lightly. These nice 4 curvy points. Now if you make them straight lines, they look too harsh and hard, and they don't look like soft eyebrow hair. And this side, that's a little bit bigger. I'm going to put 3 points on this side so it's not the same. There. 1, 2, 3. See that? Looks easy, but it takes some practice. Now Charlie's wearing a big old prospector hat, which has the front end of it is turned up in front, the front part of the brim. It's like this big circular part right here. If it were flat, it would stick out way in front of him, but he turns it up just like that. And put a little line in there, that's where it sits on his head. Now right when you get to the edge here, do a nice little, not a perfect corner, let it curve into it, and comes back behind him. And the brim sticks out way on this side. So you have part of the circle here, and then this little flat part oval that's sticking out behind him. Now that right there looks like a backwards baseball cap, and it's not, because this is just a flat piece. And to help that out, we're going to draw the top of the hat about a little more than halfway up. Let's do this curve line, curves back down. And instead of just drawing a straight line here, let's break this into two shapes. Two lines rather. Have a slanted line there and a slanted line there. Kind of makes it look like an old hat. Charlie is a scallion and has, the fronds that stick out of the top, but they stick out right at the top of his hat too. So the top of his hat has a big hole in it. So let's draw this frond over this way. Again, it's kind of skinny and it curves around this way. These big upside down U shapes. Very simple shape. One, let's leave a little bit of space in between these two. And this one. Don't make it too tall. Curve it out that way. Like I said, a little wider at the end, narrower as it gets closer to his head. And one more this way. Let's put it a little bit behind there. You can see how if you let it come up to the line and it looks like it's behind now. Just a curvy line this way and that way. There, those are his fronds that come out of the top of his head. Let's go ahead and color in his hat too. He wears a nice black hat. I'm not going to get it all the way black. Hold your pencil sideways on its side. Not drawing lines like this, it'll take you forever. Just let the side of your pencil, or if you're drawing with a crayon, let the side of your crayon, just color that in. Now I've had practice so I can do it kind of fast. But until you have practice, just take your time. Fill it in nice and slow. There. There's Charlie Pinscher in his hat, but to make him look more like a cowboy, he's got to be wearing his kerchief. So let's draw this curved line down this way to make him feel round. Now, if you remember, if you've done the how to draw Little Joe, and put the knot in the front. Well, this time I'm going to put the knot kind of in the back off to the side. So we have this line here. There's a nice curve. Now we're going to draw this upside down triangle, because his neckerchief is tied in the back and it comes down almost like a bib. A little bit wider than his body. It feels like it wraps around that way, see? There. That's the nice triangle shape in front. Put a little wrinkle up here, because right here is where the knot is. Let's draw kind of a half circle. Let's close off that. Just kind of a half circle. See how it feels like the knot's kind of resting behind him now? That's where it's tied. It's not perfectly all the way in the back, just off to the side, just enough so we can see it. And for the tassels, the little ties, this top one, let's just draw a simple, kind of a curvy shape there. Just two curved lines that come to a point over on the side. And the other one, let's draw a little bigger, because things always look a little more interesting when one is different from the other. A bigger curve. Now this will do one of our S shapes. Curve the opposite way from this line. This one curved up, this one curves down. Put it about halfway through, bring it over like that. And you can even stick a little wrinkle line in there where it drew tight. And again, like we did before, let's give him a little shadow. Let's draw a part of an oval here on the ground and color it in kind of lightly. There. And even, like I said, he hadn't shaved, very lightly. Just let your pencil just touch the paper. Just very lightly color in this circle part in his chin. Just like that. There. Looks like he hasn't shaved. Let's do a couple of polka dots here. Give him a polka dotted kerchief. There. I think that's good. Charlie Pinscher as a prospector. Now, if you like yours, go take it and hang it up on your refrigerator.
This is Joseph Pulich. Today, he's going to show you how to draw Mr. Sly.
So we're going to start out with a grayscale marker, so that I can do a very loose drawing that I can use as a basis to do my finished drawing, which is going to be with a black, very thick marker. So this is the marker that we're going to use to really commit to the drawing, and this is the one we're going to use to sketch it in. So we're going to draw Mr. Sly. Now first we're going to get a nice body shape in there. And if you look at my body shape, a lot of people stand straight and some have attitude when they stand. What we want to do is show that there's a little bit of attitude in Mr. Sly and his character. So we're going to try to commit to that right now. And he has a little body shape like that. And we're going to add in just basically where his body is. And just the basic shape. See how loose that is? We're just kind of getting an idea of where his eyes are going to be. And his nose. And then we're going to give him big, funky Elton John glasses. Very large glasses because he's trying to be really hip and cool. We're going to put his mouth in pretty much right there. So we know where our character's mouths go, so we want to commit to that right away. And then we're going to give him kind of a John Travolta type shirt where it's opened up a little bit. You see his chest, and he's going to have some, like a little chain, neck chain on there. And we're going to give him a very big collar coming out. And the Saturday Night Fever John Travolta white suit with some gold buttons there. So now that's pretty nice. We have the character kind of in there. And now, since we have this vertical shape, we need to balance that out with some sort of a circular shape up here. So we're going to give him a funky hairdo. Funkadelic. Just like that. So now let's look at the entire silhouette of our character, and it's looking pretty good right now. Has a nice balance to it, nice shape to it. So we have it all sketched in. We kind of like how it is. So now we're going to commit to this drawing and really go in there with the thick black marker and really noodle it out. So we're going to start out at the focal point of our character, which are the eyeballs, which is basically two ovals, and we're going to fill it in. Just a little highlight up there. And we're going to say that the light source is coming from here. So the highlights are right up on top there. And then we're going to we're going to draw first what's going to be over the eyes, which is going to be the glasses. But the nose is actually in front of the glasses. So we're going to draw the nose first and commit to that. That looks pretty good. We're going to draw in the glasses. Which are two circles. We're going to put some sequence in those too to really make them stand out. And remember, this is just an idea sketch, trying to get the overall feel of the character. So now we're going to put the eyeballs in. And we're going to commit to the hair. Hair's looking pretty good, so I like that. Be very, very free with your marker work. Don't be afraid to make it so perfect, because you're going to start to lose the feeling of the character. Now get that body in there. Really commit to that. That looks pretty good. You're going to give him a cute little smile. And we're going to fill that in with your black marker any way you want to, really. Just fill that in. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because if it's too perfect, you start to lose some of the feel to the whole thing. Now you have to be very careful. A lot of students try to keep everything symmetrical as they're drawing, and we're not going to do that with this. We're going to make his collar come out a little bit more on this side and make it different on this side. So it's not the same. And that really adds so much to the overall drawing. You see how this line comes down here, but this line is going to go a little bit differently. Just so it's a little different. And now his white John Travolta suit. And his buttons. And we're going to finish off his body there. And put a little oval down here so it looks like he's actually standing on the ground. And then we're going to put in his chain. I'm going to fill in his head area right in here. And all we have to do now is fill in some dark for his hair. And we have Mr. Sly.
This is Joseph Pulich. He's an artist here at Big Idea Studios. Today, he's going to show you how to draw Snoodle-Doo.
And what we're going to do is just sketch in very loosely the look and feel of what Snoodle-Doo is. And then once we're done with that, we're going to go over it with the black thick marker to finalize the drawing. So when you do the grayscale marker, you can be very loose with it, and you're just getting the main line, the main character flow in with that first stroke. And then we're going to just sketch in his eyes, what his eyes might kind of look like, but we're not going to be held into that because we're using the grayscale right now. And putting his nose in there. And we're going to give him a cute little body. And that's very similar, when you look at that, it's very similar to what a veggie body looks like. But we're going to add just a little belly to him, just a little cute little belly. And we're just sketching that in very loosely. And we're giving him a little poofy hair right up on the top, indicate where his eyes are going to be. And I'm going to give him a little belt with a belt buckle. And we're going to give him hands. Yay! Our character has a hand. Just kind of sketch that in there like that. There's his other hand like that. And then we're going to give him a little backpack. And then these really cute little wings. They're a little more mechanical. Just kind of indicate that there. So we're going to look at the shape of our character and just look at the outline of the character and how that outline flows. And we can make changes right now because it's still very loose and it's in grayscale. And the outline looks pretty good. So we're going to start indicating some of the details. So we put back our grayscale marker, and then we get our big black marker. Now we're going to commit to what these lines actually are going to be. So we're going to draw much more carefully. I'm going to actually put my hand on the paper so that I can really get a nice oval as I draw. So there's my eye. And I'm going to shade it in such a way that it looks like there's a little highlight on the top. And I'm going to put the nose in. And I can be very careful as I put my eyes in. I'm going to fire in a really nice smile that he's got. And here's the poof. And put in his belt. And we're going to fire in his hand here. Take a look at the outline, it looks pretty good. And just fire in some details. Snoodle-Doo.
This is Brian Roberts. He's an artist at Big Idea. He's going to show you how to draw Maewyn Suckett, the young St. Patrick.
This guy's actually really different from a lot of the characters that we normally do because he's very flat. Usually we have very three-dimensional characters who are very round like this. But St. Patrick is going to be built up almost entirely of really simple flat shapes. We're going to be doing circles, triangles, and squares. And between those three shapes, we're going to get the whole character. And then a few other little lines. So I'm going to start out with my blue pencil just to tell me where to put my lines. And for St. Patrick's head, we're going to start out with just a nice big circle, just like that. And he needs a couple eyes, so we're going to just do more circles for the eyes right there. And St. Patrick's nose is just kind of a little U upside down. And obviously he needs a mouth. And his eyes are just going to be more circles. His ears stick out the sides of his heads. They're just little half circles out there. And St. Patrick, when we designed him, we wanted him to look really cute, so we gave him a nice little hat, which is kind of a triangle and a square kind of put together. And coming out of his hat, he's got some big hair, just like that. And that hair was a lot of fun to animate when we were actually making the show. Now, St. Patrick's body is really, really easy. It's just one big square that sticks out the bottom of his head. He doesn't even have a neck usually. And then coming out of the bottom of his body, just more squares or rectangles come out the bottom for his legs. And then he gets little shoes that are kind of like little elf shoes. Funny little shoes just like that. And then we're going to do the triangles now, which make up his shoulders, just like that. And then we're going to do some funny little arms coming out. What's great about St. Patrick is he's a really loose little design, so nothing needs to be really particular or straight on this part. It's just kind of wiggly and wobbly little lines. And we've got everything kind of mapped out now, so we can go back and just kind of color it in with our dark pencil. The reason that I draw with the blue pencil first is because it tells me the relationship between the lines. It shows me where the eyes go and where the mouth goes and all that kind of thing. So that when I come back with a black pencil, it's much easier. There's the hair. And at this point, what we're doing is just kind of going back over our blue pencil with the darker pencil. You could be coming back with a marker, or you could be doing it with crayons, whatever you wanted to do to make your lines darker. There we go. Finish off the square for the bottom. Now, as we now know, now that you've seen St. Patrick, he was actually kidnapped by pirates, which I didn't know before I got to work on this show. That was an interesting fact about him. So here we go. We're just kind of tracing over the lines. Now, another fun thing to do to give it a little bit more dimension is to add a little bit of shading. So what I like to do is wherever you've got a part sticking out of another part, like his legs and his arms, I just go back in and fill that in with black. And there you have Maewyn Suckett, also known as St. Patrick.
This is Joe Spadiford. He's an artist here at Big Idea. He's going to show you how to draw Apollo Gourd.
So Apollo Gourd is a big gourd. Basically a enlarged version of maybe Jerry or Jimmy. So we're just going to make him, he's got a very wide girth to him towards the bottom, and then he's got that top shape. Okay, so he's wearing kind of samurai gear. This is when Apollo first enters the ring. So the first thing I want to do is draw his shoulder blades, or the shoulder armor thing that he's wearing. Okay, and then he's got a kind of a gown that comes off of that. It kind of comes around. You think of it like I'm thinking about this shape like it's wrapping around. He's wearing his belt, so that belt is going to go right there, just a circle shape, and the belt's got attached somehow, so it's going across there. And he's wearing his sumo attire. It goes down around there. Okay, now he's also wearing a big helmet. So it's like a samurai helmet. It's kind of a bell shape for the samurai helmet. So just think of it like a regular bell, like you'd see on a church top or something. Okay. All right, so now we're going to draw another circle for the top, and these kind of weird organic like hook shapes or horn shapes almost, but they're decorative design elements on top of the helmet. Just repeat it so it kind of comes out. It's almost like, hard to describe this thing. It's almost like a flower kind of shape that comes out. Okay, and on top of his helmet, he's got this little circle shape here and another little circle shape here. It kind of comes out there. Okay, so that's basically it for the basic shapes of Apollo Gourd. Now we're going to draw the eyes in here. So basic veggie eyes.
two circles that kind of come together and like press together with a. He's got a longer nose shape, so it's more like an oval. So it's like a circle that's stretched out a little, and two little versions of that big shape on the side for nostrils. We're going to draw in his mouth. He's kind of a tough guy, so we'll give him a little bit of an attitude there, and then he's got his chin shape, which is kind of like two circles bunched together, just like the eyes. Now he's got eyebrows too. Actually, like a unibrow, one eyebrow put together. Okay, and that kind of comes together here. Now we're gonna. He's kind of a mean, menacing guy in the beginning of the show. He's a tough guy, so we're gonna make his eyes kind of come half down. He's looking right at us. So now I'm just gonna go in there and darken the lines that I've already got. Bring out that nose shape. Again, just emphasizing those circles. Darkening the line for the growling smile kind of thing here, and then gonna darken this chin shape. Now we got to get the outside of his body that kind of comes into these. Like I said, they're basically like cylinders cut off. So like almost like a half a circle that goes around, and they've got some decorative elements in them too. So I'm gonna do the same thing over here, and then you just draw these lines in the middle, and in between each of the two lines, put a circle at the end. Circle, circle, circle. Okay, now we're going to get that dress shape in there. It's not a dress. It's probably more of a, I don't even know what you'd call it, just kind of a outer covering of some kind. All right, so we get that drawn in there. All right, now let's make that belt a little bit more bold. I'm trying to see the shape throughout the whole bigger shape, as if it's actually a belt wrapping around. So I'm just kind of trying to imagine that. All right, we get the underside of them. All right, now we're going to get that helmet in there. Just darkening the shapes. These are kind of like the sides, the base of that bell shape is almost like two triangle kind of shapes. All right, and that kind of circles around. Comes up to the top. Okay, and I'll get that circle that's at the top, and I'm just darkening these, like I said, these odd-shaped decorative horns that he's got at the top. Almost like a Viking's got, but only samurai. It's a Japanese soldier. All right, now we're going to just darken in, last thing here, darken in the eyes. Make that eyebrow a little darker, just a bunch of little triangles that kind of come together. Leave a little circle for highlight in the eyeballs. All right, so that about wraps it up. So you've probably seen this character before in one of our earlier films. Basically, he's King Twistimer from Jonah, just with a different outfit on. So our characters keep popping up all over the place.
Hi, kids. This is Joe Spataford. He's an artist here at Big Idea, and he's going to show you how to draw Laura the Carrot, who played Miriam in Babysitter in Denial.
Okay, so Laura's got kind of like a squat bottom and then a rounder top, kind of like a stretch gumdrop shape. So it kind of starts off like this. Then the next thing I do is I find the middle of her and I find where I think her eyes are going to be, which is right about here. Now this eye is a little bit smaller than the other eye, and the other eye comes up a little bit higher. So make this like that. All right, and I'm drawing very lightly here, and so in case I make mistakes, and I always make mistakes, but the lighter I draw, the less I can, the more mistakes I can make. Okay, so then I put the nose in, which is a circle shape, and then a little shape for the mouth, which is another kind of a U shape. See that? Like that. All right. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the upper eyelids in, which is kind of like two lines that come at the top there. And they come down to the bottom a little bit too. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw two circles that kind of lean in a little bit for her eyeballs there. And put a little highlight light inside them. It's another little circle. Just kind of draw this line in the middle that separates both the eyes. Then at the top of her head there's a hairline, so she's got kind of blonde hair. Or I have to imagine it's blonde because we only got a black pencil here. But that kind of bows up, and it's almost like three little squares that kind of point up to the top of her head. And at the top of her head she's got a bandana, so that goes up kind of up here. Now Miriam, who Laura is playing in this show, we won't see all of her hair, so normally we draw the top of her hair, but we're not going to do that this time. You'll see a little bit of her ponytail on this side, but most of her is covered with this bell-shaped kind of hood that she has. So I'm going to kind of draw this bell-shaped hood. So there's the top of the bell, and it kind of flares out a little bit at the bottom. Comes in, goes up around the top of her head, curves over this way, and it kind of comes off the side of her head. Try to keep it at the same height, like it's almost one big bell shape that comes across. And I'm just going to imagine the back of that going all the way behind it, but I'm only going to draw the part that we see, which is right there. But I'm imagining the back of it. The dress that she has on kind of comes in this V-neck, which is right in the middle, and then it comes out on the side. Well, make that a little bit level there. I had one side a little lower than the other, and that wasn't quite how Laura looked in the film. But kind of working back, side to side, back and forth. Let's see here. And she's got a belt, which is right about here. And then another lower part of her dress comes right down here. And she's kind of poor, so she's got patches on her, like she had just sewn this dress together. And there's three of them. There's one here, there's one underneath that, like there was one big hole and she had to use two patches to patch it up. And then there's one patch on the bottom there. And of course she needs stitches on these patches, so these little triangle shapes will do really nicely for stitches. And she didn't get all these patches from just one piece of cloth. She had a few different pieces of cloth here, so one piece of cloth has polka dots on it. This one has lines on it, like it was a striped sheet or something that she cut up. Now that I have the original base drawing down, I'll go on top of it and I'll push things a little bit more. Just make it nice and dark to hide all the mistakes that I made. Sometimes you can't push hard enough. Let's see. That's her ponytail back there. And her eye shapes. So what we're going to push a little darker on the upper part of her eyelid. Okay, that's 1/2 of her eye. Not going to push as hard on the lower part. Kind of want the upper part to have a little more dark in it. That makes it look like it almost has the illusion of a shadow coming from the top. I'm going to draw that nose. Again, I'm going to just push harder. Push a little harder on the bottom. Sometimes that can be fun. You know. And then there's that U shape for the mouth. And just darkening those lines around the eye that I drew before. The circle within a circle. One thing I noticed right now is that I actually drew her nose a little bit too long and looked almost like Archie a little bit. And see, that's what I said. Sometimes you make mistakes, and I make them all the time. So even now, it was just a little bit too long. So what I decided to do is just kind of make a little bit more squashed, you know, just a little bit more of a regular circle. Okay, now I'm going to darken the sides of her. This is going to be that bell-shaped hood that she's got. Actually, it's going to come up here. Her hair is actually coming in front of the hood a little bit there. And she's got another little trim inside the hood that basically has this decorated pattern on it. Okay, now I'm going to draw that back line like I was talking about, the back of the hood. Draw that V-neck in there. Put the edge of her dress in there. This lump here just kind of shows the dress. It just kind of sits on top of the belt, which is here. Put the lower part of the dress in there. And just imagine where the bottom part of the body comes down through. It comes down through here. And I just kind of put the squat part of the body in there again. And again, just pushing a little bit harder on these patches here. Again, a little harder. There you go. So this is pretty much Laura in her outfit for Miriam.
Hi kids, I'm Tim Hodge and I've got something really exciting for you today. We're going to show you how to draw Princess Petunia. Okay, Petunia is a rhubarb, though she doesn't look at all like a rhubarb. Let's start with her head. Not all the way to the top, not all the way to the bottom, just about a little bit more than halfway up. Head, let's start with kind of a circle here. It's not a true circle. It's kind of wider at the bottom than it is at the top. It's kind of a rounded triangle. You see that? And we're not going to draw her looking straight at you. She's going to be looking a little bit to the side here. So I'm going to draw a line right down here as a very light, because I don't want it to show up later. That's going to be the middle of her face where she's looking. Petunia's got, well, 2 eyes like everybody else. And they're almost circles. And a little bitty nose here. It's like a top part of a triangle without drawing the bottom part. It's kind of shaped like a gumdrop. See, it's right between her eyes like that. Okay, let's draw her pupils in here. I'm going to draw one pupil there, and this pupil is going to be right on the edge. See how this one's just a little bit farther from center, and this one's really next over to the edge because her head is turned and she's looking right at us. Okay, now let's firm up some of these lines around her eyes. Let's make the line on top of her eye pretty dark, kind of like eyelashes, nice dark eyelashes. And right on the end, come off her eye and let it curve up. That's her eyelashes coming off like that. Same thing on this side, going the other way. A little bit smaller. Now darken it up on the bottom side. Not quite as dark as the top. And right above her, just a little bit of an eyelid. There. Okay, now we're going to do her mouth. She has a sweet little smile here. Start off with a little V shape like that. And then a little curve on each side. And for the lips, we do it on top. This is kind of a shape like an M. See that? And then right off to the side, put a little cheek line like she smiled. Now her bottom lip, just like a U, right underneath that. There. That's not so hard. Okay, now I'm gonna shave off a little bit of this side here so her jawline doesn't come out too far. Put the corner of it like right there. See how it bends like a little boomerang this way, then that way. Not a sharp corner. You want her to have smooth features, nice rounded face. And her chin is right underneath there. And then bring it up, her jawline right over there. Okay, and Petunia has a big hairdo. This big hairdo of flaming red hair. And it's wrapped, kind of twisted and wrapped around her face on both sides. So, start with this frontward C right over her eyes. And real big, again, real light, because we're going to change these lines a little bit later. And then I'm going to let this line come around here and curve behind her face a little bit. See how that? Now this one wraps behind that chunk of hair and comes around on this side. And a little bit, you see a little bit on this side. Yeah, it's just kind of what we call the S curve. It means it curves one way, then the other. One way, then the other. And you can see the top of her head up here, where the hair is all gathered. Not really a bun, but it's where her hair grows out of her head. Not really that rhubarbs have hair. Okay, and her hair it's all kind of twisted up in her hairdo. So let's do a few S curves. Only they're like S's lying down. Go down, then up, then down, then up, like that. So it looks like it's kind of twisted and wraps around her head. The same thing over here. It's a little complicated, but with a little practice you can get it just right. There. See that? And she also wears earrings. That's Princess Petunia's head, but her body is nice and it's kind of like a rhubarb stalk. Rhubarbs look kind of like celery, only they're red. But we're going to make her green because it just looks better that way. It's narrow at the top for her neck and wide at the bottom. I'm going to make it curve backwards like this. It's not rounded this way like you see junior asparagus or Archibald. Since it's more shaped like a celery stalk, it curves back around this way. It's like half a circle. There. And before I get started on her dress, we're going to draw her ponytail because her hair wraps around and then it's all braided in the back. So let's draw a real light S curve this way. And then one up here that wraps behind her neck. Like I said, it was braided. So to draw a braid, braids are real tricky. So we're going to have to, we draw this little C shape right here, and then one right there. Again, right here, and one right there. These are all the little segments of a braid as it goes down. A little bit on this side. It's not exactly what a braid looks like. It's a simplified version. You know, when you braid hair, it comes in little chunks. This is an easy way to draw braids. Now right here, her hair doesn't end in a point like this yet, but there's a little a little band that wraps it. Now most people use rubber bands or something. I'm sure she has a nice ribbon around it, and that she is a princess. That'll be a different color than her hair. And then on the end of it, these are fun shapes. It's like a double S curve. You have one that goes this way, curves up and down to a point, and then this one goes like that. Let's go on to her dress. Now her clothes that we've designed for this story are kind of Middle Eastern, North African. So right around her collar, let's draw this. It's kind of a sideways J shape. It's actually a circle turned on its side, but we don't see the whole thing that goes behind her neck. You see that? And the top part of her dress comes out here, and about halfway down, not quite halfway, is where her waist will be. So let's have this kind of curves out backwards this way. See how it flares away from her body? And then she has a sash that's tied around her middle. Yeah, make that curved just like that. And you can draw a couple of lines in here to show how the cloth wraps around her waist. And right up in here, there's a collar design. It's like this U shape. I think that. And then it goes around the collar like that. And there's these little ties on it that go across. I'm just going to do two, just like that. There's a little decorative circle on this side and a little strip that goes on that side. It's very pretty. Okay, her dress comes out a little wider than her body, and almost when you get to the bottom, this little break and come back like that. You see, it's a nice, very subtle S curve, break back. And then, almost got too low there. Nice, subtle curve back up to this side, where her dress flares out the other way. There. Now this dress isn't just a plain skirt. It also has a lot of wraparound designs in it. So right here, not up in this corner, but a little further down, right there, do a nice, just a simple curve right there. Not an S curve, just a simple curve. But right when you get to the bottom, it hooks back around like it's wrapping around behind her. And on this side, and right here, they have to do a little line that comes back that way, a little curved line. Kind of a shawl around her skirt that wraps around. You could even put a wrinkle in there if you want, like that. And around the base of her skirt, there's little decorative embroidery patches, almost like little shiny jewels, just little ovals that wrap all the way around. You see it starts high and gets low, and it comes back up high again like that. You see? That, you have brand new VeggieTales character, Princess Sweet Sweet Petunia. I hope you had fun. See you next time. Now you all know Bob, I'm sure, and we've seen him with a lot of different expressions. And since he doesn't have hands or even a body, most of his expressions come through his eyes. All right? So let's get started. Okay, like I said, Bob's just basically a circle. So we're going to start with one big circle here right in the middle of the page. And like always, draw kind of light because we're not going to use all these lines later. Now he's not a perfect circle. If he was, he'd be kind of boring. In fact, if it's a little bit flattened out on the sides and the top, not quite an oval, just kind of a flattened circle. In fact, even if it looks a little lopsided, but that's intentional. That gives him a little personality. And I'm going to draw him straight on, straight looking at you. It'll be a little bit easier to start off since he's our first one. Now Bob has, like everybody else, two eyes right here in the middle. Come down about halfway. So about halfway through this circle, that's where his eyes are going to sit. And they're like two big egg shapes. We're going to make Bob really happy today. Usually he's a little uptight about something, but he's in a good mood. And right in the middle, before we get too many lines in here, let's put his nose. His nose is almost right in the center. See, if I measure it halfway from side to side and top to bottom, his nose is right there. And inside his nose is almost a perfect circle. See that? Okay. Let's put his eyelids in, because they give him a lot of personality, a lot of expression. Up near the top is kind of his eyelid. From the top of his eye here, it's almost like a moon shape on its side. See that? That crescent shape there. And the same on this one, a little bit lower. Let's not make it too even. Yeah. And I'm putting it a little bit darker on this bottom side. Kind of creates a little bit of shadow, because you know Bob has that little ridge where the thickness of his eyelids show. And I usually don't darken this line between his eyes too much. Let's go ahead and draw the sides of his eyes. And today I'm not going to draw his bottom eyelids, because I want his eyes to be open really wide. There. And right in the middle, not right in the center of his eye, just a little bit off center. Let's draw kind of an oval shape for one pupil, just like that. And again, not quite in the center of this circle, but a little off to the side. Draw another oval shape. Sometimes I've found if you put him right in the middle, it doesn't look like he's looking right at you. It looks like he's kind of staring off behind you. So put them just a little bit together. I think it makes them look better. Let's draw circles inside these circles, and these are the highlights, where if a light comes down and hits your eye, it gets a little shiny in one spot. So you leave that part white, and you color in everything else. Yeah. Gotta beef up that line around there. Now Bob's eyes look kind of happy, but he still doesn't have his mouth yet. So let's put his mouth here. He's going to have a big smile, big toothy grin. This big, like a very shallow U shape. Just a curved line. Make it go up to almost equal with his eyes there. Don't go up too far behind, because Bob doesn't usually open his mouth that wide. And then down below it, another U shape. So again, this whole thing looks like a moon sitting on its side. Yeah. And his line for his teeth comes just almost a perfectly straight line right across there. Not too dark. It looks better if it's a little bit lighter. But you can darken all these other lines that you want to keep. And all the extra construction lines, they kind of fade in the background after a while. Now, that's not all of Bob. Of course, Bob has one more thing. I'm going to darken up his body here. He's got his little stem and leaf on top. If he's looking right at you, it's a little bit behind his head, so we just see just a little bit of it. So I draw these little shapes here. I don't know quite what you call those shapes. About 3 of them should work. These little kind of U shapes on their sides. Should be little leaves. You can even make it curl up a little bit on the side if you want. And then right in the middle, a little stem. It's kind of like just 3 lines. 1, 2, 3, just like that. I'm just going to beef up this line around his body a little bit. Now I've got the line right where I want it. And underneath it, to make it look like he's sitting on something, you can put a little shadow. I just draw this little oval. So if you ever notice a ball or a circle would cast a shadow that looks like an oval here. So let's draw this oval underneath him, how it wraps behind his body here and comes out the other side. And then very lightly with the side of your pencil, not as dark as you did the eyes, because this isn't a very dark shadow, just kind of shade it in. Might have to go a little slower than I am, because I've had lots of practice. And there you have it, a very happy Bob the Tomato. Everybody do real well? She's another princess. Her name's Sweet Sweet Petunia, but we call her Petunia for short. She's a rhubarb, and she's a star of our new show, Princess and the Pie War. Now she looks kind of complicated too, but if you break her down, she does a lot of simple shapes, like a circle on her head, big triangle here for her body, and of course circle eyes like that. It's easy as anything else we've done, it just takes a little more time. You ready? We'll just put them all together. Okay, so let's start out over here, just same as always. We're going to start with her head. Her head is kind of a circle-ish, just like that. And put it a little off center because the rest of her body is going to come down this way a little bit. Not too near the top so we have room for her hairdo. And we're not going to draw her straight on. She's standing a little off to the side. And her body, come down here. It's kind of a slanted triangle, not perfectly straight. It's these two kind of curvy shapes. And she's wearing a kind of a closed-in dress. She's from the kingdom of Rhubarb. A very fun clothes, kind of Middle Eastern, Turkish kind of mixed feel. And her foot area comes out the bottom like this. She's a rhubarb. At the end of a rhubarb stalk, it's kind of shaped like a piece of celery. So we have two straight lines here, and then curve up there. Now rhubarb has a big leaf on top of the stalk, but instead of giving Petunia a big leaf, we're giving her a nice big hairdo. There's beautiful red hair, kind of parts in the middle and wraps around on either side. Just like that. Comes down in front. Think of this all on just kind of those S curves we've been drawing the whole time. That side and this. And see how the one on the bottom here, it just kind of goes out the side of the area where we did her head, and that way it makes it look like her hair is wrapped around the back. She's got it parted in the middle, and you put a little bit of hair on top too. She's kind of got it pulled back on top. On either side, we gave her little earrings. They're like two pearls stacked, a big one and a little one, just simple circles. She's got a nice chin there. Now right in the middle of her head's turned so the middle is off to the side. Draw a little line to give her place. She's got eyes that aren't tall. They aren't tall egg shapes. They're almost circles, but they're a little bit wider. See that? And like Madame Blueberry, she's got just a simple eyelash like that. Not too low. We don't want her to look bored like we did with Madame Blueberry earlier. This is nice S shape for her eyelashes. There are her eyelids there. I'm going to make her looking right at us. So this pupil goes right in the middle of that eye, and this one goes off to the side since her head is turned a little bit. You see? She's got a little upturned nose here. I just make it kind of this backwards C shape like that. And she's got lips kind of like Madame Blueberry, just like we drew before, remember? There's that M shape for her mouth line, but this time let it curl up on the ends just a little bit. Gives her a little bit of a smile. We do her top lip, which is an M, like that, and her bottom lip is a U. There. Now behind her head, she's got a ponytail. Remember that when I showed you the model there? Her ponytail is going to come out to the side, and it's braided. Braids can get rather complicated to draw, so we're going to simplify it a little bit. Draw kind of a C shape there. Actually, it might be easier just to draw some really light circles like that. It's kind of, if you drew a line through the middle, it'd be kind of curved. So kind of stack them off to the side. This top one's going behind her neck a little bit. And now darken it on either side. Don't draw it closed, and that way it gives it a feel like it's folding over itself and kind of stacked. And you can draw little lines in the middle to make it feel like the hair is folded over and braided. Okay? And at the end of this last circle, it's a little hair band to tie it off. And then her hair comes off the end, and it's like a circle with a point on it. So at the end of her ponytail curls up like that. Okay, I've gotten that line kind of dark, and I don't want it to be the most important thing, so let's darken everything else just a little bit more so it comes out in front. The darker something is, the more importance you give it, the more attention it wants. You want people looking at what you want them to look at. So let's make our eyes even the darkest part, so people look at our eyes first. There. Got that? Now see, that was a ponytail. It was kind of hard, kind of complicated, but we did it all right. Now let's put her dress on. Right on her neck, right under her chin. This little curved shape like that, just barely curve it. It almost looks straight, but let it curve up and back around. See, it goes right behind her neck there, because the collar is just a little bit loose. And see, halfway is about right here. Come up halfway, but above the halfway mark where her belt is. We'll put this is where her belt will be, right in the middle. You see the bottom of her belt is just a little over halfway up. It's kind of a wide sash, kind of a wrap where it goes around. And the top part of her dress comes off in front where it's a little blousy. And then right underneath the collar line, let's put this little, the decoration on it. It's got this part where it kind of has a little lace up in the front. There. Nice border. And to make this feel like this is a sash that's wrapped around, you can put a couple lines on it that are curved. One like that, and then one like that to intersect it to make it feel like it's like a silk scarf wrapped around her waist. And the skirt, let's even make it a little bit bigger than I drew. That's one thing why you want to draw light, so in case you change your mind, I'll make that just a little bigger, a little blousier. And this has a part that wraps around like this real shallow S curve like that, and then back around this side too. So it's got two different parts. And then along the bottom, draw these little diamond shapes. It's like two triangles stacked on top of each other, that way and that way without the line in the middle. It's like these little sequins that run down the bottom of her dress. And one stuck in behind there. See that? Feels like it's wrapped around on the other side. There you go. And you can put a ground plane in there. There you go.